welcome to my channel, Bleulotus.Gardens. My name is Bleu Phoenix, my pronouns are she, her. In today's video, it's going to be a Plant Care Tuesday video, and we are dedicating this video for begonias. So behind me, I have assortment of begonias that I grow personally. Some are rhizomatous and some are cane type begonias, and so I'll be explaining a little bit on their care, on how I've grown to care for them better, and then also how I care for them now. And as well, I'm going to describe how I know from my found knowledge their description and the types of begonias. And also I'm going to be referring to the book that I've referred to y'all last time. It's The Greenhouse Expert. I think that's a great book. It explains a lot about different types of plants in there, and also if you want to set up a greenhouse, it does go by month and also like what you need. So I think that's such a really good reference to further your plant knowledge and then also your experience. So we'll get on to this video. Okay, so from my understanding, there are various different types of flowering begonias, and some of them are different than others. So one of them are like the bushier type begonias, and I'll insert an image here so that way you understand what I'm talking about. They're more like the fibrous type begonias, and they have a more showy type of flowering as well. They're more for like, I guess, for more of like a one-time flowering begonia, and then usually people like kind of like discard them after that. So usually type of like holiday type begonias and stuff have like a more bushier type of structure to their plants. So from my reading of this book, the Lorraine begonias are some of the holiday type of begonias, and I'll insert an image here. So those are some of the bushy type of begonias. There's also, so apart from the bushier type ones, so there's also the cane stem varieties as well. Those usually are the angel wing begonia type of begonias, grow upright. And then there's also the trailing begonias that grow outwards, and so they are also cane-like, but they trail outwards. And so there's, for example, there's the begonia with Lacucci, for example. Man, they did us dirty with that one. But that's one of them that actually grows outwards, and I say that because I have one here with me. So here's one of them, for example. This one is the begonia with Lacucci, and this one's the one that would grow outwards. There's also a cane type of begonia because of the structure of the plant, and then but it grows the growth pattern on it is outwards. So I thought that was a really cool one to mention. I do like that one, and a lot of people like the variegated version also of it. I think that was awesome. I'm kind of frightened to have that because I'm still, even though I do care for begonias well enough, I do feel like sometimes they do perish easily in my case. And then lastly, there's the foliage type of begonias, which are the Rex type of begonias. Those are the rhizomatous begonias. So rhizomatous meaning they are grown from a rhizome, and they grow into various different foliages. Here's the erythrophyllum. As you see, this is the rhizomatous type of begonia that we're speaking about here, and this is the Rex type of begonia. Usually they are also various different ones you can find like your big box stores as well. So those are like the Rex type of begonias. And then we'll talk more about how to care for them, because I feel like I've done better and can talk about how to care for them now that, as you see, they are doing a little bit better in my care, especially this type. I kind of learned how to do this one a little bit better. Next, for the care, the ones that I would like to talk to y'all about is a lot of people have trouble caring for begonias because they feel like the humidity is something that they are afraid of and having to ensure that it stays in a humid area. For most part, it's pretty minimal. Like begonias require minimally 55 degrees Fahrenheit for their temperature, so that way they can thrive in that environment. For most begonias, but I've also noticed like 60 to 75 is pretty good. You know, if you have like a setup is like this, they're fine. Lighting, I usually keep them in supplemental lighting, but there's also some that I keep outside. I have to insert a picture here, but I keep this one outside. It's does well and it's in a more like shadier spot, but it does receive like bright and direct light, so it's very high filtered area, and it does pretty well there. And I've been able to get a lot of props out of that, and that's really like some that I put out for my to trade with and stuff like that. So there's some that do well outside and do well inside also. So it's really like you kind of have to test it out, but that's like the fun part of it all. Like growing and learning how to care for them is really like awesome, because then you get to grow so many different ones. But next topic we're going to talk about is like watering. So I think that's one of the topics that really like one of the issues that I had when I was watering it. So I'll insert a little clip here. So when I'm watering, I tend to do more of like a bottom watering for them, and what I do is I'll take a container, a plastic container, and I'll just place them all in there, and then I'll fill up a pitcher of water with nutrients in it or fertilizer. I usually use Super Thrive, or I'll use Fox Farm. So those are the two that I use, and from there I'll just let them all get bottom water from that, and then meaning that they'll absorb the water from the roots upwards into their system, and the plants are quite smart themselves, and they will actually like absorb as much water as they need. And if you see any water that's left over, then that's all the extra water, and you can just put that aside or give it to another plant, or if it's not pesty or anything like that. But that's how to care for it, because also you want to avoid getting water on their foliage because it could damage it. If it is also touching in a terrarium type environment, you want to avoid doing that, because it will or find a way to like maneuver watering around the foliage, so that way it doesn't get damaged. Because if it is touching glass, it will disintegrate the foliage, and it'll just like cause it to rot away. But also, while it's rotting away, that could also bring issues with pests. So fungus gnats are kind of like something that's going to happen. So you want to ensure you add like some sort of like mosquito bits into your terrarium area, or sort of like substrate, or you could also use sulfur to combat it. But you also want to make sure you also want to be sure that you're careful, because it will also kill any good bugs if you have any good bugs in your environment for them. So pest control, watering, humidity. If you need to kind of like keep it more in a humid area, I would recommend kind of like looking for, instead of investing into a cabinet, I would look for a use like aquarium, and then just put like plastic over it, or some sort of like covering to keep it humid. So you could do that, and then kind of like work on that. Or or even just like a plastic tote, and then have like a grow light in it, you're doing yourself like a huge favor there, and starting off in a way to like keep it humid and have that humid environment, but also make sure that it's um, opened every now and then, or have like a circulating fan if you can in there. Like it's really something that's helpful. That has helped me out. I've done it all, like where I've just explored every kind of in and out of caring for begonias because I really like them and I want to make sure I can care for them, and I can tell other people how they can care for them because they need to like know as well. And so these are such beautiful plants. That is such an amazing plant. So I'm glad that I'm able to care for them and show people how to care for them as well. So those are some really good like ways of caring for them, for their plant care, for like watering, pest control, humidity, uh, temperature. I haven't hybridized any of the begonias. I've tried to before, but I don't think I've ever been successful. But I am aware of how to do it. I just don't know exactly if I'm doing it right on the way to do it. So I think in time I'll probably invest in like uh, going into like a group and like learning to do it and making sure I know how to do it right. Because I think that would be really cool to like explore different options of hybridizing begonias. Um, but those are like a few of them, and then also with like propagation, we'll definitely get into that because I have some already that need to be propagated and some that are ready to be potted up. There are some, as you see, I propagate my begonias by leaf cuttings and with water. That has been my most successful way of propagating it, and I would recommend if you want to start propagating your begonias to do that. And the way to do it about is you want to like cut a good amount of the stem, as you see, where it kind of like is able to touch the water, but also enough where the leaf can like hang above it because you don't want to get the leaf damaged. And from there, it'll grow out because if you do get the leaf damage, it'll be a less chance of the plant to grow. And this one's a little gross, so apologies, but I was waiting till now. As you see, it has roots and the leaf is very damaged, but it will grow. Some of them will do this. Not all of them will, but some of them will. And because begonias will grow out from either end of like either the leaf or the roots, the stem themselves. Here is another one. So this one's the Erythrophyllum, the beefsteak begonium. I think that's really cool. And then from here, the new growth will emerge from there. So begonias are really cool and easy to care for, especially once you kind of get the hang of it and you get to explore different types. They'll grow out little like individual little like tiny platelets almost on the ends of their stem. And then this is when usually I pot them up, is whenever I see a bunch of like roots like this, and that just lets me know I could do it. Oh, and here's one with a little plantlet already on it. So I did these like about 3 weeks ago. So see that little plantlet right there? Let me see if I can just show you. I'll do a B-roll. Definitely want to propagate. Here's a closer up. Here's a close-up, and you can see now there's the growth, the new growth, the way it will emerge, the roots, and then the tiny plantlets from the bottom of the stem. And this is the reason they're coming out of the bottom of the stem is because they either come out from the bottom or the leaf. If you cut off the stem, they'll come off from the leaf. So It takes a little bit longer for me personally from the leaf, but I feel like it's easier for me in water. This is the leaf. Okay, so I definitely want to propagate more Rhizophyllum begonias. So what we're gonna do is, this is how I do it. It's like cut from almost a very close to the stem as possible. Oops. Here's the next one, as you see. Oops. And I think leaving 2 on there is good enough because you want to make sure that the plant is receiving enough energy for it to produce more foliage as it grows out, because as you see, it does have new growth. So, and if it's flowering, you can cut off the flowers so that way it starts to like focus more on growing on foliage than on the flowers. And so what I do is I do a little bit of sulfur and then leave it alone for like, I would say 10 minutes at most. And then I just place it in water. So. Super easy. And then I just like leave it like that for about 3 weeks at most. But it's pretty much like until I see a lot of roots coming out, and then I start to just like pot. One is my favorite, and I have to propagate it. I'm so glad it's now like big enough to propagate. We're gonna cut it from right here. So see, and then so now I have this one and then this one. I want to keep 2 leaves on here because it does have some new growth on there, and I want to make sure that it has enough to grow. This one's awesome because it grows so fast. Oh, actually, one we just cut right here. This one is called UO93, and I'll have it on the screen to make sure, but still, UO93. Here's Bubba making his appearance, of course. So we're gonna cut all the way down here. This one is UO65, if I'm right. But next we'll just cut here. I do not like how lanky this one is, so we're going to cut it all the way to about over here underneath this, because so the reason why is because if I cut all the way up to here, the new growth will emerge from here that you see, those little nodes over here. So the new foliage will emerge from here, and then it'll create a new pattern coming out from here, and it'll kind of like keep it more symmetrical. So that's why. Here it is. This one's the burning bush. And this one I actually want to get multiple of. So we'll cut from here. Oh my god. And then we cut the flowers. So this one's called Bobby Price. I've been wanting to propagate this one for so long. So it's basically, I'm going to restart the plant. And when you restart the plant, since it does have already a good rooted system, a good root system on it, you want to ensure that you give it the nutrient that it needs. So ensure that it gives it like a good feed, or if you can repot it with like slow release fertilizer, and that will help it bring out the foliage better, the growth structure better. It'll be like stronger also, from my experience at least. So that's some tips I want to give to others as well. So if y'all can, you want to try that out. It doesn't harm also the plant if you give it like some feed and some good fertilizer during that time. Kind of gives it a balance, so it's like is all for Plant Care Tuesday. This Tuesday I thought it was really cool to just show y'all my experience about my found knowledge about begonias and what I've learned and how I've learned to care for them as well. I'll try to update my website with more blog posts on these Plant Care Tuesdays, so they're coming out. I'm writing a little slowly, sorry. They're coming out, and I appreciate you all for subscribing and supporting my plant shop and my channel's growth. So you all take care out there. Thank you again, and happy Pride Month as well. Bye.